Good morning and welcome everyone to the conference. It's really an honor to be able to participate today and share my journey as a caregiver and also my mother's journey as she battled Parkinson's disease for over 15 years until her passing. And we started a website in her memory called TogetherForSharon.com, where we try and I do raise awareness 24/7 towards about a cure for Parkinson's disease and also for all those caregivers like likely yourself out there worldwide who really I feel need to know they're never alone. So welcome again to the conference, and my name's Dr. George Ackerman. I'm going to now share PowerPoints and we'll begin. So again, thank you to the individuals at the conference, the sponsors, and for the invitation. It's really an honor to be able to speak to you on a very important topic, Parkinson's disease today. Again, my background, my name is Dr. George Ackerman. I happen to be a police officer and an attorney in Washington, D.C. and Florida. And I am also a PhD. I'm a professor of criminal justice. My life shifted and changed the day my mother really, her battle with Parkinson's disease progressed, and I became her caregiver. So today is not just about my journey, it's also about my mother's, but also every journey might be different, but also in similar methods. Parkinson's disease is one of the fastest growing neurodegenerative diseases worldwide, and we have to be not prepared, but able to understand and bring awareness to this important topic. There's some family photos, and recently published a book called The Son's Journey, from Parkinson's disease caregiver to advocate in memory of my mother, Sharon. I felt that unfortunately she lost 15 years approximately living and battling Parkinson's. She passed at a very young age to me, 69, and I feel she lost many years after she passed due to the disease. So I really do this mainly to ensure that she's never forgotten because of Parkinson's disease. And each person I meet, like you listening, everyone at the conference, if you're able to share this, participate, and reach out anytime. You're never alone as a caregiver and also as a patient. There are many options available and resources now more than we had 10 years ago, which is a positive. This is a little bit about my biography. Feel free to go to www.togetherforsharon.com, or you can speak with the conference, I'm sure, how to reach out to me if ever needed. And the purpose of me writing the book was I was shocked to find out that not just the US, but worldwide, there wasn't another book from a son as of this recording who lost their mother due to Parkinson's that wrote about it. Also, the last year of my mother's journey was one of the difficult ones. I kept a journal and I kind of kept it private and secret. So I really didn't know how to express my feelings during the tougher days as a caregiver. And that's really, I believe, what this conference is about, dealing with aging, also many issues that come not just from Parkinson, but could be from Alzheimer's, ALS, dementia, so many other illnesses I hope we find a cure for immediately. This book again shares the journey of my mother battle with Parkinson, but also mine as her caregiver. I also wanted to reach individuals who are not aware. So the major problem today, even with it as an advocate, and I happen to be going to Washington, D.C. in this September, coming very soon to the Capitol to advocate with the Michael J. Fox Foundation to fund research towards a Parkinson's cure. That's really the most important thing is contact your legislators, your city, county, state, and federal and urge them to support funding for Parkinson's disease awareness. My mother, so we started on my mother, some of the photos of her life. Again, I never really wanted to write a book on this, never dreamt I would have to, but in a way I was, again, I felt thrown into this, world of awareness and advocacy as well as Parkinson's disease, not again by my own accord, but because of the battle that my mother again had to face. So through this journey, feel free to take notes or contact me at the end anytime. My mother, as I mentioned earlier, battled Parkinson's disease for many years. I believe it was 15, but I was told recently it was actually could have been more. The first several years didn't really notice anything, and I didn't know anything about it. I heard the word Parkinson, so I myself was not aware. Only until the last 4 years, really, we started discussing it, 7 years. But the last 4 years, when I noticed her left arm was very stiff, she had trouble moving it, and she was stating she had internal tremors. And we'll talk later, but one of the most famous celebrities out there who's a hero of mine, Michael J. Fox. If you know him and know him today, his health is unfortunately declining, but he has external tremors, which are more noticeable. So these are some of the signs that I had noticed towards the last few years, but it constantly got worse. And as an individual who didn't even hear the term caregiver, really wasn't sure what to do or what steps to take. So you might be asking if you're not aware, and this is a great time, what is Parkinson's? What are some of the symptoms? So we'll try to tackle some of that. The medical field believes there are possibly 5 stages. In the first few, an individual might have mild symptoms and examples, tremors. Sometimes they have some change in posturing, walking, and facial, known as really here differences in the masking, facial masking. Second and third, it will become worse, but still can live independently. So you can, my mother still had the ability to live alone. She liked to be independent. Unfortunately, the fourth and fifth stages are the toughest. That's where I took over in a way in my mother's life to help as a caregiver. And through the elderly process, you can see the symptoms worsen in stage 4. Walking and standing is very difficult. My mother went from walking a few miles to a cane for 2 years, then a walker, and then wheelchair, and then bedbound the last 7 days. So you can see the biggest problem here is with the stages, we're not sure of an actual timeline. So it's not like, you can just predict when and if someone will go through these stages quickly, or if it will happen over much longer uh, period of time. Unfortunately, my mother was young, in my opinion, but there are individuals who live much longer with Parkinson's. So there are treatments out there, but unfortunately, as of today, there's no cure. So physicians, medications, therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and even some states license medical marijuana. This is a very important illustration I always share and try to provide. Here you can see the Parkinson's iceberg. And one of the toughest things, and we credit Temple Health for this diagram, is that people don't always see the real major problems and issues stemming from Parkinson's disease. So again, you can see some of the downfalls of what you might not see are constipation, which was a big problem in my mother's journey, softer speech, loss of smell, sleep difficulties, and you can also see some of the tougher ones for us were hallucinations and delusions. I had never heard of those words before helping take care of my mother. And again, not everybody will see each and every single one of these symptoms. Delusion, hallucinations for my family were not easy to even discuss, even today, sitting with you at the conference or virtually. My mother thought there were individuals in the room, like her deceased parents, but they weren't literally there. She also thought there were family pets there, but they weren't present and they weren't even alive anymore. Some days my mother thought that people were trying to harm her. And hallucinations sometimes were more tough as a caregiver for myself and our family than even the Parkinson symptom because she, would have panic attacks. She would actually one time call the police, so we had to remove the phone. So it really just took a bad turn. And it's also difficult to take an individual you're caring for Parkinson's who's undergoing delusions, hallucinations, to doctor's appointments, and to really ensure their safety throughout their journey. Next, you can see primary caregiving, and this is a photo of my mother and I. This was a very difficult area. My mother had to have 24/7 care. We promised her and she wanted to stay at her home. So that caused many other challenges that we had to combat. I wanted to support my mother, make sure she didn't fall, because I knew that with a fall, a breaking body part, like a hip, ankle, leg, would have been the end of really possible care, at least for our scenario. So we tried to hire different companies to gain support, but that was very difficult. Many of them didn't know what Parkinson's was, so found myself often struggling just to help find the right support, whether it was a caregiver to help us when I had to work or just helping her throughout the night. I actually went through several companies and probably hundreds of aides before we were able to even find somebody who showed care. The final year of my mother's life, as I mentioned earlier for the conference, was a tough one. 2019 was the year before my mother passed. I kept a journal, and if you have a copy, have a chance to read a son's journey, you'll see the full year timeline and date stamp because I wanted someone to see what it would be like to go through a journey of a caregiver who's helping somebody, in this case, their mother, due to Parkinson's disease. So one example is June 12th. My mother called at 7 a.m. and asked me to take her away so she could live with me. She felt there were people and told me that they were harming her, and we had to install video cameras, which was, something I couldn't believe we had to do. And thankfully, at least in the time we viewed them, nobody was harming her. It was the delusions and hallucinations due to the Parkinson's, possibly medications that were making her paranoid. And that, again, was very heartbreaking to see a loved one really go through that tough struggle. As a caregiver, my health and is also sacrificed. I remember I always loved sports, but one Sunday morning I tried to go play basketball just to get my mind and my own mental health as a caregiver at a good place. And I put all my equipment on, my shorts, sneakers, and as I was about to run out the door to get a little time off to exercise, my mother called and I dropped everything to help her. It was not easy as a caregiver. And I always said, we weren't sure how long my mother had. We were told many times by 15 professional doctors, licensed, and some movement specialists, disorder specialists, that you don't die of Parkinson's, you die with it. So I never knew how long we had. I didn't think it would be that short. And they always say, as a caregiver, the number one rule is to take care of your own health first so that you can help your loved one or be a good caregiver. But knowing that I wasn't sure how long she had, she only felt comfortable with me by her side. So I did sacrifice a lot of my own time and effort and mental health to be there for her, and I'm glad I did. One area I was shocked at doing this presentation, but also advocating, is there's a shortage of male caregivers. So some statistics show that male caregivers suffer from the same challenges as women, like depression, exhaustion, stress, fear, sadness. I definitely felt many of these things, but I was brought up to, in a way, combat and fight back. And no matter if you're male, female, no matter what you are, how you are, what's happening at that time, if you step up as a caregiver, you have to put your all into it. So I definitely was surprised when I heard the statistics show not many individuals are male caregivers or they're not voicing their opinions and their voice. Family is the most important thing in my life and my mother's. Here you could see a few scenes. We used to love to have dinner out, go to beautiful places together, and just these memories can never forget, and they can never be taken by Parkinson's. One thing you should also try to have as a caregiver or somebody supporting a loved one through any disease, illness, or disorder is you have to have support. So I might have been support for my mother, but without my wife, Greta, I wouldn't have made it even up to today. And also thanks to all of you listening who were able to share this, attend the conference, and make sure that my mother's never forgotten. Even if we reach one person today, we've changed their life for the better. So I was at the time lucky to have three small children. One was just one, but my wife Greta was very supportive. Also had a special relationship with my mother, and she often helped on tougher days when I had to work, couldn't be there. My wife took care of the children, kept our house, maintained, And on tougher days, since my mother, of course, had female issues that as a male, I admit, don't know anything about, she would come in and help. I remember when my mother struggled, she used to love to have her hair done and nails and pedicures, but many times towards the last year she couldn't, and she couldn't even leave the house. So my wife had someone professionally come in to just support my mother. And as many of you know, just having your hair done, or your nails, or your toenails, are making you feel lively or fresh is definitely something that's a positive. So I always thank her for that. My mother will always be in our hearts forever, 24/7. As a caregiver, my heart kind of broke when my mother passed due to Parkinson's disease, but she lives on through everyone we meet and talk about, so we keep her memory going. But I do feel a piece of me was lost the day she also passed. Family support's important. As I mentioned, I have three children. Here they were at that time with my mother, and actually working on a children's book now because even 5 years later, since we lost my mother, I have difficult time explaining to my children who are now much older what happened to their grandmother, why, or even what Parkinson's disease does. I never had preparation to be a caregiver, to be honest. I never even heard of the word until I was thrown right into it. Definitely changed my life forever. There are positives, of course. Now, through you, everyone I meet and speak to, just incredible individuals. You all do become like my family, and we all have to be a family in this fight toward a Parkinson's cure. The final week, as I write in A Son's Journey, was one of the most difficult. I remember just that last year was the toughest, and I write here in excerpt from A Son's Journey, January 1, 2020. My mother passed at 6:05 p.m., and she could finally have peace. The last 7 days, I'm in the state of Florida right now as I speak. We do not have death with dignity laws, which I find tough. The last 7 days, she really had a heartbeat but was not alive, and we just watched her suffer really in pain. And again, I find sadly a lot of times we treat our animals better than our families, who once you go a certain point through hospice, there's no coming back. And that was the case for my mother. After my mother passed, we decided to start TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. Thought we'd have like a few people, visit the site, which would have been fine, but we've had over 60,000 people now. So it's been, an honor. We are making some ground, but there's still so many more people out there who aren't aware of Parkinson's, and those who are battling it and are not aware and feel alone. I always say it's shocking that as we speak again today, or I speak at this conference, we have approximately 1.3 million people in the US diagnosed, but they stated in a local research in just the last month that they believe the statistics show in just 15 to 20 years we'll have over 25 million people diagnosed. Imagine the jump from 1.3 to 25, which is shocking, staggering, and we all need to really do and look at more to rid the country and the world from this disease, where there's 10 million people approximately diagnosed out of the United States worldwide. After my mother passed, we had a lot of things I didn't even think about, but I do recommend as a caregiver too. Entering her house, having a will, power of attorney. We wrote a book on the law and Parkinson's disease because we weren't aware. You can go to TogetherForSharon.com, click bookstore, and you'll see all the books, all the money for not the printing and the fees shipping, but all else goes to Parkinson's disease associations and foundations like the Michael J. Fox Foundation. The mission forward, I've been able to honestly make relationships with individuals like yourselves that I never dreamt I would have. There's a community out there, and it's a beautiful one. And I'm grateful not just for the time today, but all of you listening today. I've had the honor to meet Mr. Michael J. Fox and many other individuals. We created this band that you see in front of you, which I wear also 24/7. And this is the band, memory band. It's a memory of my mother, and I had the honor to meet Mr. Fox. And he actually, if you see in this picture, he's wearing the band for Parkinson's awareness. We also, as a family, continue to advocate through walks, through fundraisers, and through talks with various organizations worldwide. Again, not just for the past, but also for today and the future. I'm grateful to you all listening, to the conference organizers for asking me to speak today. And there's a lot that we can all do. So going forward, I'll be at the Capitol, but I'll continue to be on social media if any of you want to reach out. There's many support groups out there. You can get involved. Today it's a lot easier because of social media, even doing things virtual like we're doing right now. Also remember that we love you, we support you, we care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I will continue to advocate, but I feel together our voices are so much stronger. So please join us in this movement. It's no cost, just some few minutes. It even could take a moment. Subscribe, share. We have a podcast. We have a few of them now. One is the Together for Sharon podcast, and that's with my wife, Cruther, and I. I love this show, not just because we're on it, but it brings the female and the male perspective of caregivers supporting individual Parkinson's disease. We've had about 16 episodes so far, all free, again, located togetherforsharon.com. You click podcast. So before we wrap up, just want to thank you again. These are some ways and methods to reach out. So you can go to togetherforsharon@gmail.com, or you can also go to togetherforsharon.com. We also have social media, and what I find very important is that I might be, again, one voice. I'm only one son, one person, but we have more individuals we reach, the more celebrities, people, advocates, people, families that are diagnosed together. We really can bring more awareness. If you go to Together for Sharon, click media, and then PD Warriors Celebrities, we've been the honor to have messages directly in memory of my mother. Mr. Brett Favre, unfortunately, recently was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He provided a message for us. Also, Kenny G played a song. My mother's favorite artist, even through some of the tougher times, was Mr. Kenny G. So the saxophone was just something that brought her a little peace, even for a small moment. And you can hear him play a song in her memory. Jack Osborne, Ozzy's father, unfortunately passed. He provided a message, and Rashid Ali and many others out there all provided messages, which is really amazing, especially coming from a legend like Muhammad Ali's family. Some of the leading advocates in my time have been Mr. Osborne, Ozzy Osbourne, Muhammad Ali, and Michael J. Fox, and they've done so much, raised so much funds to find a cure and to find research to really stop the progression, and takes everyone, including all of you, of course, to help in this fight. We've published many books in this area. Again, I didn't plan on it, but I found many topics that I found missing in the world and thought we needed to add to them. So these are just a few. There's about 8 or 9 now at togetherforsharon.com. Click stores or bookstore. Voices of Resilience is a two-part set. It actually is interviews I've done over almost 1,500 around the world. But these conclude interviews from people worldwide, not just the United States, caregivers, advocates, people diagnosed, to show that you're never alone. You can also view, recently I published a book on policing and Parkinson's, and this is an important project I'm working on. I've actually spoken on it, several conferences and police departments. There's not any, or if any, much awareness for Parkinson's disease in law enforcement, and as a police officer reserve, an attorney, and a professor in the criminal justice field, I feel we need a lot more awareness for Parkinson's disease. It's obviously an involuntary movement disorder, or a movement disorder. So if somebody's pulled over for a traffic stop, some officers have been unfortunately not aware of Parkinson's and believe that driver who's diagnosed might be drunk, drugged, or some other, resisting, but that's not true. It's just some of the symptoms of Parkinson's. I'm hoping with this book, if it can go to every department in every single city, state, throughout the United States, we can bring some important change and save lives too. It's a positive book for both people with Parkinson's, their families, caregivers, and also law enforcement officers. So check those out. And like I always say, one person can make a difference. You are making a difference. One person can bring positive change. So let's keep fighting till we end Parkinson's disease and find a cure. Right now, we don't have a cure. There are ways to slow the progression. One example is sports and exercise. So very important to always exercise for the caregiver and for someone diagnosed. That's been researched on. You can find studies online, peer-reviewed, very incredible articles, so many that show that exercise can slow the progression. I always remember I'll be advocating right by your side, and you can count on that. Wanted to thank you and really giving me the opportunity today at the conference to speak. But because of you, my mother's memory continues to live on. So again, I'm very grateful for your time. I'm also here for questions, but you can also reach out to me anytime at TogetherForSharon.com or email. I'll leave it up here. Email is right there, the contact information. So you can again reach out anytime at TogetherForSharon@gmail.com. And I'll always be available as well for any questions. And I'm also learning, so I appreciate all of you as well. I always kind of conclude, I always say this is not the end. This is to be continued. After the lights, camera, and paparazzi leave today, we still have work to be done. And I've been doing this, we say I'm just getting started at the end of every podcast. Feel free to check out the Sharon Q&A with Sharon's son George. I've interviewed 300 individuals now, scientists, doctors, celebrities for Parkinson's awareness. All our shows are free. If you go to TogetherForSharon.com, click podcast, it'll have become a life in and of itself. But you'll have a lot of valuable resources right at the fingertips from your own home now. So again, I wanted to thank you. This is Dr. George Ackerman. Really appreciate you and thank you again to the conference organizers for allowing me opportunity to bring some light to Parkinson's disease awareness in memory of my mother, Sharon. Have an incredible conference and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. We send our love.